What is good, everybody, man? Welcome into the Blue Bloods as we are live here. Week 3 preview, man. The season's going a little bit too fast for me. It's going to start like, kind of snowballing, and me and Coach are going to be sitting here and Coach, it's going to be week 9, 10. We're going to be talking about playoff implications, Celebration Bowl race, conference championships, man. It's going way too fast, man. But I'm here, Coach's Corner, my guy, Coach Fred, joining me. Coach, how we feeling, man?
Feeling good, baby. Glad to be back on one more time with you, brother.
Always, man. Always. I know you guys, real quick, man, you guys have a big out of conference matchup. McNeese, you guys get the conference play next week, man. PV traveling over to Lorman, man. How you guys feeling going into McNeese?
McNeese, man, we had a good week. A little disappointed with the outcome from last week. Score may not have looked competitive, but the game was very competitive. We had chances. Defense played lights out. Offense first half. We just got to figure out how to put together 4 quarters offensively, and I think we'll be okay. And that's the goal this week, coming up with McNeese, who we know is coming in with a chip on their shoulder. A lot was made about us beating them last year. So those guys haven't forgotten. They're going to come in ready to shoot for us as well. So we got to be ready to go.
Man, I'm excited. I know you guys are glad to be getting back to Lorman, man. Get to play in front of those home fans. You guys have a streak here where you guys get to stay at the house for a little bit, man. I mean, for that first home game, does it feel a little bit different? Or the guys a little bit more amped up to finally be playing in that home stadium?
Oh, no doubt. Coming in from the last away game, pulling onto campus at 4 a.m., you tend to start to look for the little things, and the next 2 are at home. So you look forward to those. And then by the end of the day, by the end of practice, a couple RVs that start rolling in. And that's when it really gets exciting for the young guys. And then the older guys are like, okay, yeah, we are home now. We're home now. So to have those RVs rolling in on Thursday, man, it's a good sign.
Man, I'm excited. Shifting into storylines, man. We're going to go storylines here, talk a little bit about FBS versus FCS matchups this week, man. Really the last week where you have a long list of money games, is next week conference play kind of takes over for everybody for the most part, outside of a handful of matchups here and then. And we'll have a new segment debuting next week to take the place of those FBS, FCS conversations. And then, of course, we're going to get into full previews. And our game of the week is number 13, SEMO, faces number 15, Southern Illinois, who's one of the hottest teams in the country right now. But, Coach, man, let's kick it off here. What's the one of the biggest storylines or just talking points in general FCS news, man, that you're looking forward to going into week 3?
Well, always keep it our conference, the conference that I work in. It's got to be the Alabama A&M versus the Jaguars of Southern Baton Rouge. That is a huge game early in the season for obvious reasons for one program. And then for the other program, I think it's a chance to prove that we are here and we're for real.
I will say, I mean, we talked about it. We talked about it, Monday afternoon when we did our recap. Man, the pressure is on over there in Baton Rouge right now. You have, I mean, there's real rumors kind of circulating that. I mean, if they lose this game, there could be serious conversations of making some changes, whether it's head coaching changes, staff changes, roster changes, whatever it may be. I mean, the fans are really sick and tired, and they're fed up, and it's a fan base that's used to winning. The expectation is to win and you scheduled this all SWAC schedule. So I know the 2 first games were non-conference games. You're looking at going winless against SWAC teams to start the season. And I don't think that's a standard around Baton Rouge.
And I don't think that was the aim or the goal with the scheduling idea. I think, last week, I think that was a game that was scheduled to give themselves confidence, so to speak, going forward, with the last couple championship games. And I think that the expectations were really, really high and still high, being that we're just going into week 3. But like you said, the oven is up past 375 now. So it is a serious situation. Hate to hear about it, hate to see it in the profession, but it's part of what we do. I'm sure he's not real, pressed about it, but you still hear and see and you feel you feel all the talk and all the pressure. Ain't no doubt about
And then on the other side, Connell Maynard making Sports Center.
it.
Yeah, I mean, he made his social media rounds, man. I mean, he went viral for that press conference. No surprise. I mean, listen, he is one of the most candid people, like coaches, head coaches, especially to talk to interview. Not surprised. I will say, I mean, I know it got lost in the barking and in the hype around that, where it was hilarious and everyone loved it. But again, man, it bothers me that some coaches at this level only get like that for conference games, because you go back to last year, going into what was it, week 1 or 2 last year, he said, he makes the famous quote, only get paid to win conference games. And then this week you're sitting or no, I guess they beat a D2 team last week, but you're sitting there 1-1 and you're like, okay, now the season's here. Now conference play. Now it's time to get my guys hyped up. Now it's time that we're going to turn it on. It's like, man, you're 2 weeks late, man. Like, you've had 2 games. Like, you should have been barking at the camera going into Vanderbilt saying that we're going to get that check and bring me my money and we're leaving Nashville with a win. Like, that should have been the confidence. I still can't get behind man, we're only fired up because now it's conference season.
And that's I mean, I can't speak for coach. I can't speak for, what's in the building. I can only speak for me as a coach. Anytime they're selling popcorn and the band's playing, man, you want to win that game. We went to Hattiesburg with intentions of winning that game. We went to Stephen F. Austin with intentions of winning that game. You don't go to play not to win. And the only, and I love Coach, and the only problem that I kind of have with it, Coach, B, is a couple of years ago when that guy was at the other school up I-20, at Jackson State, he kind of hushed you and you went away and now you're back. And I just don't like the way that looks, man. You know what I mean? That's just me.
No, and Ty, I see you in the comments. I'm not saying you guys didn't compete well. Like, they ended up competing really well. I'm saying coming into that game, the confidence in the press conference was different, man. Like, I want my coach to be like, man, we're going to like, if you think Trey Oliver, when he's asked about the UCLA game, isn't like, man, we're coming back with a scalp this weekend, man. And a Power 5 scalp, we're going to be that team. Like, we're going to beat them. It's a top 25 FBS team. It's not Vanderbilt. I mean, let's be at the end of the day. All disrespect meant to Vanderbilt. I'm going to be honest with you. I used to say no disrespect, all disrespect for Vanderbilt. It's Vanderbilt. Hey, you gotta think you can win that game. And then, shifting from that, Coach, too. I think this is such an important game for both teams because we understand the hot seat talk with Dooley, but let's look at the divisional races. The West right now is, I mean, it might be more chaotic than even when me and you talked a few months ago, we thought it could be chaotic. I mean, outside of PV beating Texas Southern, I mean, you don't know, with all the money games and out of conference games, you really don't know what anyone has yet. And this could be huge to get Southern there. If they lose, now they're falling behind PV. I mean, you never know what these other teams are going to do. I mean, you set yourself way back, and then you look at the other side. FAMU's already looked impressive, already got a win over Jackson. What happens if A&M falls down? And now you're looking around like, okay, well, where do we stack up in this division? Because I mean, I think it's really those top 4 teams. You got Bama State, A&M, Jackson, and FAMU. I'm sorry, I don't think Bethune and Valley are ready to compete. Just based on what I've seen on the field. I mean, Valley just lost to a D2 team last week. Bethune only win over a D2 team, and they're getting blitzed by Miami right now on national TV. It's a 4-team race, but you kind of put yourself at the bottom of the pecking order in this race if you lose to Southern, especially because Jackson just got a win over Southern on the road last week.
I think it's I don't know if you remember in school, at least in school in Florida, like in elementary school, there was a little red box and it had the little small hammer with the thing behind the glass, and it said "break in case of emergency." Yeah. If you drop that one, it's time to break in case of emergency. The West, man, the scheduling has made it really, really interesting to the point to where, you know, you can say you're not looking around, but you're looking around because you don't want too many people to sprint out ahead of you. And now everything becomes really, really important. Now, every game's important, but you drop one, and now it's really, you know, man, we got to go. There's no room for any error when it comes to that. And then, you know, when we're talking about storyline, to jump back to one, can Miles State claim to come into the conference? I mean, that's going to be an interesting one as well for me when I'm staying within the conference. The Miles UAPB, and then the Cal Idaho. Interesting storylines going around for me in FCS.
Yeah, and I agree, Todd. Listen, and Coach said it too. SWAC games are not predictable, man. Anything can happen, especially in that West. I'm talking about. I mean, and it also means something real quick before we shift into the next storyline. It means something to win by a lot. If it's a 3-way tie, it goes to how big of a points differential you're beating some of your opponents by. Like, that's in the tiebreaker rules and stuff like that. So you have to win impressively. You can't be going to overtime winning by 1 or 2. A win's a win, but that could be the difference of keeping you from going to the SWAC championship. So there's going to be so much on the line for both Southern and A&M. But Coach, real quick before we shift to the FBS games, shout out to the analyst, Craig Haley, and all those guys over there. They did a breakdown finally. Just, I guess we can say 2.5 weeks. There were only, 3 games, week 0. They kind of looked at this new clock rule in terms of how many plays people are getting off, scoring trends, things like that. And it's a small sample size, but it's interesting to look. Coach, only 3 teams have went over 70 snaps this year.
It's tough, man. And I'll just, I'll tell you, because of the if you can run it and you can be really good in the timely pass game, man, you can melt away the clock in your favor if you're up. And right now, defenses are getting smart. That day of where everybody's going ultra super fast, that's pretty much long gone. I won't give the secret, but, defenses aren't going to let you do that anymore. I mean, there's nothing you can do about it. But, tee it up and get ready to go for the next play when they blow the whistle. But it's tough, man. And it's like I said, it's like the days of old when Nebraska get up on you 2 scores, you're in trouble.
So it's interesting too. An interesting stat on top of that. Of the 3 teams that have went over 70 plays, 2 of them have lost.
Who are they?
North Alabama has run the most. They had 81 plays in a loss to Tarleton State. Number 2 is the one winner, Western Carolina, 78 plays against Samford, where, I mean, they controlled the ball for 45, almost 45 minutes of the game, it felt like. And then the third one is PV. 74 plays last week against Abilene Christian in that loss.
Wow.
But they ran for 302 yards or something. I mean, they ran the ball really well, so not surprising. But in comparison, Coach, North Alabama's 81 snaps last year would have ranked only 8th highest last year. And 40 different FCS teams ran 75 or more plays last year. Only 2 have hit over 75 this year.
It's tough, bro. That was the I think that was the get out of jail free card, so to speak. You try to get teams late in the game. You've done a lot of plays in the first half. You tried to go for close to 40 in the first half, and you hope that your pace catches up to the other team's defense. But now the rule, the timing change. The safety precautions, it almost makes it impossible. So when you say someone went for 81 plays, I'm just like, wow, okay.
It's wild. So according to their article, man, shout out to Brian McLaughlin. He said at this point at this point of the season last year, there were 15 teams averaging 40 plus points, including 2 over 59.5. Not happening this year. Not even. I mean, it's not even close.
You got to have to get that now. You got to have some special teams. To get that point total, you got to have some special team stuff happen for you. You got to have some turnovers happen for you. You got to get some short fields. No longer will you drive the field like that. And Coach Frederick and those guys are doing a great job over there at PV. When you're talking about running that ball and eating that clock, that might have worked against them in that situation, just because 10 yards here, 3 yards here, 5 yards here. Guess what that clock's doing? It's steadily moving.
Yeah, it probably didn't help that they gave up, I want to say, 300 yards passing to Abilene Christian. I mean, on the flip side, the defense didn't play very well last week, but it's still interesting because with that North Alabama game, they ran 80-plus plays, but that game finished, I want to say it was like 56-35 or something. I mean, it was just quick touchdown. I mean, just back and forth. So that's what you're going to need. But, man, shifting to FBS, FCS upsets, man, we only have 3 this year, Coach, which is very, very low as we enter kind of the last week full of these money games. You mentioned one, man. I think obviously Idaho at Cal is one that you have to look at. I mean, Cal really struggled last week with Auburn offensively. They're going up against an explosive offense in Idaho who just beat Nevada 33-6. I mean, it wasn't even close. And you're looking at that game as like, if Giovanni McCoy, Hayden Hatton, and that offense gets rolling, man, does Cal have the firepower to withstand Idaho this week?
And going back to what we were just talking about, will Cal use that clock rule to lean on them a little bit, try and get up and keep all those people on the sideline so that they don't end up in a tussle at the end of the game? Because I don't know if they can keep pace with that. If Idaho gets to rolling, man, your guy, the trigger man back there, your guy is pretty special.
And also, shout out to my guy Timothy, man, contributor for the Bluebloods on the website. He said Cal's running back's probably out of the game. He got knocked out last week against Auburn, probably not available this weekend against the Vandals either.
I would like to think that Cal's got maybe another guy that's halfway as good as him behind him.
They do. They got the kid that was at Montana State last year. The Isaiah Fonzie is the backup.
Yeah, the kid that jumped the portal. Mm-hmm. Up front, man, I think Cal has got to establish that and not try and get in the shootout with him, man. Just swallow your pride and just hammer it. And if you get out of there with a 24-17 win, who cares? You got out of there with a 24-17 win. No need in trying to run it up and you find yourself in a 45-42 loss kind of thing.
Dustin in the chat, Idaho is apparently a 4.5-point favorite.
Eesh.
Ooh. Over a Power 5 school. Like, this is a Pac-12 school.
Man.
That's brutal, man. I mean,
that's
gosh, that's tough. But another one, I don't know if this will be an upset. This is one I'm going to be watching closely, though. North Carolina Central traveling out to UCLA, cross-country trip. Even if this isn't an upset, which I know Trey Oliver and a lot of the Central guys are saying it could be, this is Davius Richards' money game. He's got to go out there and ball out, whether it's leading them to an upset, which is going to be extremely difficult because UCLA is really good as a team, way better than people thought this year. I want to say just broke into the top 25. And then you just have, if you can't get the win, you got to play well, man. Me and you talked last week. He's done well on the ground, but he really hasn't showed off his arm this season, I guess, to the full potential that we were expecting. I know he just plays within the offense and is collecting wins. We got to go see him ball out this weekend because this is going to determine his draft stock.
Oh, no doubt. And he's got to have that mindset, not to press, but he's got to have that mindset to be as efficient as he possibly can without the pressing mistakes, meaning, trying to show off arm talent in no win type situations. I think he's got to make sure that he plays within his system. I know Coach Leone and Coach Oliver are going to, put together a great plan for him. but he's got to make sure that he doesn't try to go out and overdo it in that situation.
I'm going to be interested just to see not just Leone's play calling approach, but just the game plan for that one. Because on the flip side, your best player is Davius. Do you just put the ball in his hands and say, man, go try to win us this game? Or is it, man, we know we got a big physical offensive line. We have a loaded running back room. Davius can run, man. Let's just try to, like we talked about, army this out and shorten this game up, and they're going to have to stop us running.
I would like to think that, but then I'll just tell you, B, when you get there, the competitive juices get to flowing, man. I mean, you've been inside those, inside the line, inside those lines. And then, Lord forbid, you look up and you're in a 14-10 type game, and now you're like, oh, we got an opportunity. Let's go. And some of those plays you may not have carried in there where you're putting him in the run game. You may now call one or two of those. Hopefully it doesn't get out of hand early, and you give yourself an opportunity, but you're smart because you have something else bigger and better coming up behind that.
And then the last two, these are ones I'm really interested to see. I don't know if I'm picking the upset in either one of these, but the storylines are going to be deep in these. You got Sac State traveling to Stanford. Troy Taylor. Yeah, Troy Taylor, former Sac State head coach, going up against his former defensive coordinator and Andy Thompson. That there's going to be a lot of players on each side that are going to want to win this game for their coach. I just want to know if I think Stanford probably gets to win, but I just want to know if Sac State can keep it close, man, because that would be an inspiring performance, man, for against their former head coach, and inspire a lot of confidence for them going into conference play if they come in there and at least compete and don't get the doors blown off of them.
And I think that should be their goal, to get out of there healthy, but also to not get boat raced in that situation, because they've got something moving in a positive direction, man. I think they're one of those programs that are kind of up and coming after last year, even though they lost some people in the portal. They put out a good product, and I think this will be a game that will help them in recruiting beyond any measure, so to speak. Hey, we went out there and played with Stanford. You can come here and do it, and all the recruiting things that we tell kids when we play those schools.
And then, of course, the final one, Jackson traveling over to Texas State, and this looks like, just kind of based on, because all the other money games for the SWAC have kind of run out. This is really kind of like the last chance to end the streak before we might as well just extend it to 2024. 1985 to 2024 now.
I'm going to bet on Jackson.
I want them to win. I think everyone kind of gets confused sometimes, but I root for I'm rooting for Sanford to beat my alma mater in Auburn this weekend. I would love to see it happen, man. I hope Michael Hires goes out there and has him a Heisman type performance and tears Auburn up, man. I'm always for FCS over FBS upsets. Now, if I just want them to keep it competitive at the least. I don't know if they're going to go into Jordan Hare and beat Auburn, but like for Jackson State, Texas State, it's interesting too. I'm going to be paying attention because, man, GJ Kinney's my guy. I loved watching him in Incarnate Word last year, and that team is loaded full of FCS transfers. Running back from Houston Christian, Incarnate Word has like 11 players on that team that were all conference All-Americans. You got the All-American wide receiver and Joey Hobbert from Utah Tech on that team. I mean, they just brought everyone they could with him, and then you got a bunch of FBS guys that transferred down to Texas State. Is this going to be a really good litmus test on where the SWAC is as a whole, man? Because so far, no one's been able to pull it out in terms of their money games. We've had a lot of great opportunities and good matchups that me and you and a lot of people in the chat who watched the show felt confident about, but everyone's kind of underperformed in those. Even FAMU last week, they performed well, but man, we thought it was going to be a little bit closer than it ended up being, and they had chances to win that game, and they didn't play well in some aspects. The SWAC needs this one, man, because if you extend it to 2024, man, people are going to be like, man, we're about to hit the anniversary here, man. This streak is older than some people who are SWAC fans right now.
Yeah, and this one, Texas State's really good, man. They play, that first week, man, they play really hard. They play fast. They're going to actually sneak up on a lot of people, I think, this year. I won't say sneak because after about week 4, everybody will be looking for them. But, you know, again, I'm rooting for Jackson to win that game. And I hope they win it. And, you know, my reasons for them winning it is so that the streak ends.
It needs to. It's been too long. It's like that McNeese streak. It's like that McNeese streak that y'all broke last year. Had to end.
It had to happen. I hope it happens for them. And, you know, the big thing about that is it happens for them. And then we come back and we beat them at the end of the year. Then we can sit here and say that, you know, well, we could have beat Texas State. You know how that thing goes. But it's going to be a tall task, man. But they've got pieces that, you know, I think they can compete. If they can take care of Jason Brown, the quarterback of that school, and leave those silver helmets home, I think they have an opportunity.
Yeah, listen, the white J helmets, goated. Those things are clean, man. Keep those. Just keep the white and navy blue J helmet.
Just play in those.
Man, they are so. I love those helmets, man. Those are the ones for me, regardless of the uniform combination or anything. But I will say, huge opportunity because right now we're looking at. I was kind of starting to compile out of conference records for all the conferences for a later topic later in the year. One Division I out of conference win for the SWAC this year, and it was Jackson over South Carolina State.
Yeah, and before we move into the show, so to speak, this doesn't qualify for what you said, but it kind of does. I'm gonna have an eye on that Delta Valley game.
Yes.
I don't know if you noticed a particular thing came from Vegas on that game.
25.
I'm just like
25-point favorites.
What in the, like, this has got to be a joke. There's no way this is real. I'm gonna keep an eye on that one. And again, it's not what we were talking about, but it's what we were talking about.
That is so disrespectful.
That's crazy.
To a Division I program to be 25-point underdogs to a Division.
That is crazy.
I mean, and this is no disrespect. Listen, if you're a Delta State fan who stumbles across this, Delta State's a legit program, a legit D2 program that competes for conference championships, playoff appearances.
No doubt about it.
But there is no situation that should ever happen where a team in a subdivision lower than the team they're playing is 25-point favorites. That is insane. I mean, I don't even think I'm trying to think. I mean, I'm trying to think of who the number 1 D2 team is right now. I can't think off the top of my head. Probably like Grand Valley State or someone. It's like, you know, who would they be 25 points over in the FCS? Like, that's a legit team.
That to me, I thought was just like a beginning of the week blooper joke or something like that. Because I'm just like that. There's no way there it's a four score favorite from the jump. So yeah, that's one.
If I'm Kendrick Wade, that's in every locker. That's in every bathroom stall. That's in every classroom my players have a class in. That's in it. That's in all their cars. I'm putting that in their dorms. I mean, dude, it's that you are not going to forget that happened.
That's one of them deals where it's like it's on the loudspeaker throughout practice. Like you said, it is everywhere. It's in the cafeteria. It's everywhere. It's everywhere.
2 other D2 games that will be that I don't think they're upsets by any means. That are going to be interesting matchups, though. Ferris State traveling to Montana. We mentioned that on the preview show. Ferris State's defending D2 national champions facing Montana, who I'm going to say it has not looked super impressive this year. I'm not predicting an upset. It's tough to go into Missoula and win a game, but I think that game is going to be more competitive than people think. I want to say Montana is only a 7-point favorite in that game. And then you got the FAMU West Florida game, a very, very interesting game. A FAMU in the driver's seat in the SWAC East right now. That's a game they got to win. I think it'll be competitive early, but man, FAMU needs to pull away late in that one. They need to win that game by 10 plus.
You're saying 10. I'm saying more than that. Just because, you know, in-state down I-10. you want to squash all talk about that being some type of rivalry right now, not letting that catch fire. So I'd say it's got to be more than that, and I expect it to be more than that.
It needs to be. I'll agree. I was being reserved just because West Florida is not just like your average D2 team.
Right,
Like I mean, they're even better than probably Delta State right now. So I mean, I think they're
fair.
probably a top 25 team. I don't know the D2 rankings off the top of my head, but they've been a top 25 team in
That's
recent
fair.
memory at least. But shifting to predictions, man, that way we can, man, we spent 30 minutes on storylines, man. Time flew by in that segment right there. No, it flew by for me too. Coach, let's kick it off here, man. 0-2 Towson, traveling to Morgan State, sitting at 1-1, 6 p.m. Eastern time kickoff, ESPN Plus. Coach, how are you feeling about this matchup between Towson and Morgan State?
Morgan State brings in the 8th ranked defense, and Towson has like the I don't know, 80th something ranked offense. Something's got to give, man. Something's got to give, and I just hope that Morgan can continue on. I hope that the wheels don't fall off after that heartbreaking loss last week. But they say defense travels, defense shows up, and they have a defense. So something's got to give. Either the 8th ranked defense scores on the 87th ranked offense, or the 87th ranked offense gets it going against the 8th ranked top defense.
I don't know about that one, but did you know that this game actually had a name?
No, I did not.
It's called the Battle for Greater Baltimore.
Wow.
Because these schools apparently are not separated by much. I don't know if my guy Banks is in the chat, but I mean, these schools are like in the same city.
Wow. I did not know that. Yeah. There's a trophy involved?
Yeah. I don't know if there's a trophy, but it definitely has a name. If it has a name, it needs a trophy. I'm just going to put it out there. I don't know if it has a trophy, but it's definitely labeled. But I will say, man, the Tigers have struggled offensively. I mean, really and truly. I mean, Nathan Kent has kind of played up and down. He showed flashes. I think his wide receivers to Kendall James and Lucas Londino, they've been good given the opportunity, but it's just been inconsistent. I think the defense for Towson has to step up this week, because if you let this Morgan offense get to 14, it might be out of reach. It really, that's how good I think this Morgan defense could be, Coach. I would not be surprised by saying this. They have the best linebacking core probably in FCS football.
And you've been one that's been screaming that from the beginning. I finally figured out how to see the chats, how to see the comments.
Yeah.
And someone said the trophy needs to be in the wire. I don't know. Are you old enough to remember the wire? Did you ever see
I am. I probably was barely old enough I probably didn't watch it when it was like actually coming out, but like I know what it is now. So probably a little bit before my time, but not too much. But I will say, man, Eric Hunter and Lawrence Richardson at linebacker, man, I don't know if they have the deepest linebacking core. I mean, South Dakota State's got a few guys over there, but in terms of just how good their starting 2 linebackers are, man, it's legit. And then you got Elijah Williams on the defensive line, who was unblockable against Akron last week. And the problem is, I think offensively, there's a lot of concern for Morgan State, because I don't think me and you would disagree if they had a mid-level offense where it's like 30th, 40th in the nation. This team probably is a top 15 team in FCS. I mean, that's how good their defense really is to carry them that far. But I will say, I'm interested to see how Deuce Taylor plays. They finally benched Carson. They put in Deuce Taylor, and the offense, given that it wasn't a lot better, it seemed to have a little bit more consistency to it, where it had more flow to it, a little bit more juice. He had 2 passing touchdowns. JJ Davis and Jabril Johnson have to have big games, though, because you have a young quarterback in Deuce probably making his first start this season. You have to take the pressure off of him. You can't put this game all on Deuce's shoulders. And you have a Towson team that's allowing almost 200 yards per game on the ground. Did not look great against Monmouth last week. If you can establish the rushing game and let Deuce kind of pick his spots, and you just go out there and let your defense do what they do, man, I like Morgan's chances in this game.
And to go what you said, it was a different pop when he did come in from the little bit that I got to look and break down. The one thing, and I think we kind of touched on it last show, the one thing that I hope doesn't happen, man, for these kids' sake, when you lose a game the way they lost that game, man, it becomes a thing that's in the back of your mind. So I hope that they have put that behind them and they realize they can't get that one back and they're on to the next. Because I want to see them as they start to get into conference play, man, because they are playing freaking lights out right now.
If they get an offense, I'm just saying, I mean, if they get any sort of offense, they're the best team in the MEAC right now.
They've got to have a guy that they can raise up and throw the slant, that they can get on a deep ball every now and then. They've got to have a guy that can get them a 3rd and 8 catch just to keep that defense, man, fresh and ready to freaking go. Because the defense is actually going to score points for you, which is crazy. I mean, it's almost like they're the old Pittsburgh Steelers of old. You know what I mean?
Or like the 2000 Ravens. I mean, they're so good. I mean, Coach, I'm telling you, Thursday night. I forgot what day it is. They have a Thursday night game at home against Central, so it's a short week too that week for Central and Morgan. Thursday night in Baltimore. I'm flying up for that game. I've already got my plans booked. I'm going. I just have to see Davius Richard against his defense.
What week is that?
Let me see if I can find it. 1 second. Because I don't remember. I want to say it's the middle of October.
Let me pull up.
Let's see. It's October 19th.
Hold up. Might have to road trip that thing.
October 19th, 6:30 p.m. kickoff, guys.
They might not let me in. They come in with the funny hat, the glasses that have the mustache on it.
Oh no, man! Because hey, you're a SWAC coach. I don't think they'd even. Hey, we'll talk to Leone. We'll get you in. We'll be like, man, listen, he's guest appearing on the coaching staff. He's coaching the wide receivers this game.
Hey, kind of like Coach Sam Washington was. You looked up in the Celebration Bowl, and you're like, what is he doing now?
Yeah. They had every MEAC head coach on the sideline coaching a different position at the Celebration Bowl. but
oh man, that's our bye week, October 19th.
Yes. All right, so me and Coach might do the coach's corner from Baltimore that week, man, because I'm going up to that game, and I can listen. That might be the first live coach's corner from a game, man. Me and Coach probably gonna make that trip up to Baltimore. But Coach, I'll go ahead and give my prediction first. I think Towson could be good under Pete Shinnick coming in from West Florida. He's going to need a year or two to rebuild this roster. I think they're a year or two away from really competing. Morgan looks ready to compete now. I think they're going to have enough offense against I would say not a very strong Towson defense to score a little bit. Give me Morgan State 20-10 over Towson this weekend.
Man, we're picking the same team, but I was going with like more of a 17-10 type thing, with a defense from Morgan scoring at least 14 of it. Yeah, I'm going Morgan 17-10.
I like that. I don't mind that one, man. Shifting to, we've covered this team for the first 2 weeks. It won't be a weekly thing, but man, they've had some pretty good games we've had to talk about, man. Central Arkansas 1-1, traveling up to Fargo in the Fargo Dome, taking on number 2 North Dakota State, 2-0 on the season, 2 big wins over Eastern Washington and Maine. Coach, any chance the Bears come in, pull off the upset at 3:30 p.m. Eastern time kickoff on ESPN Plus this weekend?
Man, I want to say, because the numbers say that there is a chance. The numbers say that there is a chance.
Central Arkansas is talented. I don't think people understand that.
It says there, the numbers say they have a chance. But you know how I feel about the Dakota State, man. If they get up 7 and they get that ball, you had the great lead in with the show with the timing rules. Almost 500 yards a game of offense, with a majority of that coming on the ground. UCA has got to make this a shootout, and they've got to get up early to make it a shootout, to make the Dakota State have to do something they don't want to do, which is put the ball in the air consistently.
Here's what makes this matchup so interesting for me, Coach. Central Arkansas might be one of the only teams in the country that can match the depth of the Bison running back room. They got All-American transfer, Shonderick Powell coming in. Kylan James has exploded out of nowhere for a breakout season. And you got All-American Darius Hell in that running back room. And you got probably two other guys that have shown flashes. So you're at least three deep at running back. James and Powell both have put up 2 touchdowns this year, both over 130 yards rushing. If you can run the football and you make it where, okay, yeah, we might give up a touchdown in North Dakota State. It might be a 6-7 minute drive, but I turn around and make it my 6-7 minute drive to score again. Guess what, bro? We're at halftime. It's 7-7.
Yep.
Or it might be the late second quarter. It's 7-7. Keep it close, man. Give yourself a chance to win late in the game. The key for the Bears, if they're going to stand any chance in this game, they're going to have to run for 200 yards this weekend.
And they've got to make sure that they don't allow Dakota State to run for 300 plus yards,
averaging 8 yards a carry.
Yeah, they've got to cut that off somehow. You can't give up every second carry being a first down. Even though, you're playing really good defense under 300 yards a game, but we all know that Dakota State is running for over 300 yards a game. So something's got to give, and you can't let them get off their running game, because if they get off their running game, it's going to be tough for you. Now you've got to become the team that scores in 4 or 5 plays.
I will say Central Arkansas, they played Texas College or someone like last week, beat them like 70-2. I mean, it was disgusting, but they were really competitive against Oklahoma State week 1, coach. They held Oklahoma State to 27 points.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. They're playing defense. But now, you've got to go in the dome, and you've got to do a deal of where you've got to give yourself a chance. And that's got to be cutting the run game off. So if they can do it, they got a chance. But I'm not going to take them in this situation just because I got it at 27-17 type of thing with Dakota State winning that.
I like it. I think it could be that close. I will say the Bison, I don't like using stats for a team with 2 games when they played a school like Texas College, but the Bison have played 2 respectable FCS programs. They're allowing 8.5 points per game and 281 yards per game. I mean, they're all, and Cole Wisniewski all over. He's like an in the box type safety, 3 picks, 14 tackles. He's been all over the field. We know what Peyton and Miller are in terms of running quarterbacks. Man, when your 2 starting quarterbacks have combined for 350 yards and 6 touchdowns in 2 weeks, and they got an All-American running back behind them who is losing carries because his 2 quarterbacks are just that good at running the football. I will say whoever establishes the rushing attack best is there, but I agree with what Dave said in the chat, man. This North Dakota State defense has the makings of the best one in the past at least 3 years. They're that talented, and I'm really surprised because they had a lot of new pieces. I think that loss in the national championship to your rival, that woke up something in North Dakota State, and they want to get back there, and they want to prove not only in the Dakota marker when they face in the regular season, they want to see them in Frisco, and they want to reverse that feeling of like, man, I need you guys to feel what we felt for 365 days as we saw all that blue national championship merch all year. Coach, I got it a little bit steeper, but I think North Dakota State is going to score late. I got North Dakota State 35-17 over Central Arkansas this weekend.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I like it. And EA, it was no disrespect to FAMU's running back room. It's not the same level as North Dakota State or Central Arkansas because
they're doing it more. To me,
yeah, it's different. Like, and also you look at those running back rooms. You have All-Americans. They like both running back rooms have All-Americans in them. Central Arkansas has 2 guys who have been first team FCS All-Americans. I mean, bro, I don't know what you want me to do with that. And then you also, let's not forget South Dakota State with Amar Johnson and Isaiah Davis. I mean, listen, it's steep competition for running back rooms, but FAMU's got a great one. Listen, it's not Central Arkansas and North Dakota State, though. No offense.
Jarvion Howard, Nico Duffy.
Exactly. I knew Coach was coming with it, too. I tossed that one to him. But, Coach, shifting to, I'll be honest, Coach, this is the game I'm probably looking most forward to this weekend. I can't wait for this. I'm gonna have my popcorn ready, everything. I'm gonna have I'm gonna wear glasses. I don't even need them because I need to see this game. Western Carolina 1-1. We know the big upset over Sanford. Traveling to Eastern Kentucky, sitting at 0-2. They had back-to-back FBS games versus Cincinnati and Kentucky. Not counting those in terms of what this program is going to look like at the FCS level. This game is huge for playoff implications and deciding whether is Western Carolina legit or is Eastern Kentucky taking a huge step forward after making that playoff run last year. Coach, when you look at this matchup between the Catamounts and the Colonels, man, what do you see?
It's funny you brought that up because I had that as my number one game that we're going over as well. But my reason is I want to see if, like you said, kind of down the same line, I want to see if Western Carolina is for real. I want to see if they can put the win last week behind them and continue on to where I think they are. But you have a win that was as big as theirs was last week over Sanford. The week is a lot better practice-wise, but you've got to find a way to get the kids back because you said it best. I think that they are a little ahead of schedule. We haven't arrived. We hadn't done anything. We just, won a game that we expected to win. Now we've got another one. I want to see can Eastern not give up 500 a game this game and keep Western Carolina under wraps. And if Western Carolina can win another tight situation, not a blowout, because I think that will give us a dial on whether they are here or they're still, working their way there. Tight games, good teams win those.
This game stylistically so interesting because Western Carolina was super balanced last week. And I think that's going to be Kerwin Bell. And saying that for a Kerwin Bell team.
Because they're not supposed to be.
Like what? And that just shows how much trust he has in Desmond Reed, I think. Man, that kid is electric for being a sophomore. And then on the flip side, you have an Eastern Kentucky team led by Parker McKinney, who surpassed 10,000 career passing yards last week against Kentucky. Kid's legit FCS All-American, but he's got to be more consistent. He's thrown a lot of picks this year, more than usual. He has more picks and touchdowns this year. It's just tough to I hate that's why I kind of hate money games because you come into a week 3 matchup like this. We've seen Western Carolina play Sanford. We kind of know what we're going to get from them. We saw them against an FCS school. What can we take away from Eastern Kentucky playing Kentucky and Cincinnati, 2 teams that are, I would say, top 50 in the FBS? I mean, these aren't the Bowling Greens and South Floridas or anyone like that. So it's like, what can you take away? They played Kentucky really close in the first half. That was they were tied, or it was like 3 points or something like that at halftime. Yeah. It's a hell of a game. I will say they have to establish the rushing attack. They have struggled running the football. They have talent at the running back spot, but I wonder if we saw Western Carolina cut off the run last week for Sanford. They said it's going to be Michael Hires or die. He can throw the ball all over us, but y'all are not running it, and we're going to be balanced and eat up this time of possession. If it comes just on Parker McKinney's shoulders, are they too one-dimensional to win this game? That's my concern.
I just, I'll go back to Coach Bell. I think when they got the rushing thing going, that was just a plus. Because I think their bread and butter is going to always be through the air. If they can continue to keep that plus side thing going with the rush, that's going to give Eastern a tough matchup. And then, like you said, it's tough when we're early because everybody's played money games. They've either been in the big money game or they played someone that they paid to come. So numbers become kind of crazy when you're trying to evaluate and get predictions and things like that. That's why I feel like because Western was able to get the running game plus what they want to do, which is pass, get it off, and they brought defense, I think they're tough out if they put last week behind them. Now, if they're still living in last week, it's going to be tough.
Plus, they're on the road. And plus, man, I do want to send out our thoughts, condolences to Eastern Kentucky and also the family of Roy Kidd, legendary head coach for Eastern Kentucky, man, national champion for Eastern Kentucky, passed away this week. He got his name on the field. It's going to be real emotional for this game as well. That's another big factor. I wanted to make sure to say that, man. Definitely thinking about that community, man. I know it's probably been a tough week for all those guys, all the team, the coaches, and everyone. And also, shout out to Mike Reed in the chat, man. Appreciate you tuning in. But man, shifting to Western, I just want to see, can they replicate the front seven that they had last week, man? They sacked Michael Hires 6 times. They shut down the run. Their secondary is talented, man. CJ Williams and Rod Gatson in that secondary, legit. Andres Keaton at safety. This game is so big. And like you said, can they move on, man? You can't think about what you did to Stanford. This is a different team, a different week. You're on the road this week. You aren't going to have that home crowd. You probably aren't going to have a 6-hour rain delay either, hopefully. And so there's a lot different from last week. And I Coach, I'll be honest, they have enough offensive weapons to win this game. I'm on this Western Carolina bandwagon. I was high on them in the preseason. I picked them as my sleeper when we did our sleeper picks this offseason. Give me the Catamounts 34-31 over Eastern Kentucky in one of the best games of the weekend.
I can get with that. I'm picking them as well because they had, like I said, they got the added ingredient, which was the run game. And then you just said, they sprinkled a little bit of more, a little more of that season on there with the defense. If that is true, that defense travels, I think they'll come out in a 28, 21, 28, 17 type thing.
And this was going to be on the storylines, but we were running out of time. And so I'll just briefly say this. If you're a voter and did not rank Western Carolina, I need your credentials ripped.
You had to.
I need them. I need them ripped. What are we doing? They beat the number 8 team in the country by 23 points. And there were people who didn't vote for them in the FCS top 25. What are we doing?
Not even come on, you had to. I think we talked. Let me
rephrase that. I mean, they definitely received votes. I mean, they were like 16th in my ballot. Sam Herder had them really high too, so they definitely received votes. Let me see. That Coach, they were 26, 27. They were 28th in the country this week.
You don't beat number 8 and be 28.
And then Sanford is 18th.
No.
Make it make sense. Make it make sense, guys. Like I just it aggravates me.
They gotta crack the top 25. They gotta, tied for 25th. Bluebloods University, Western Carolina, tied for 24th. They gotta crack the top 25.
It's crazy to me that people are not willing to put their preseason ballots aside. Like, bro, because if Sanford would have won, they would have still been number 8 in your ballot. But they lost by 23, and now they're like, like, were we wrong about Sanford? It was like, you weren't wrong last week. Like, what are we basing it on? And like, there's no way, because like I told you, I start my ballot from scratch each week. Man, Western Carolina is above them in my rankings. Morgan State is above Richmond. Anybody who voted for Richmond over Morgan State in their ballot 2 weeks ago gotta be fine. I mean, what are we doing?
Can't do that. You can't hold Morgan State's loss to Akron over that, because to me, Richmond and Morgan State were here. And like you said, Morgan State won that game, that head-to-head matchup. I just don't know how you do that.
And it gets even worse, Coach. The coaches poll, right? The coaches poll had Sanford at 14.
Wow.
This week, the coaches poll, and they hang on. This is gonna make you upset. Let's see, 26, 27. They had Yale at 28. Yale hasn't even played a game this year yet, by the way. 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35. Western Carolina had 5 votes, Coach.
That was it?
In the coaches poll. Morgan State had 1 vote in the coaches poll, and Richmond had 17.
It's like 113 of them. What are we doing?
Coach, Murray State had more votes in the top 25 than Western Carolina and Morgan. Harvard and Yale, who haven't even played a game yet, had more votes in the coaches poll. And Jackson State had 10 more votes than Western Carolina and 14 more votes than Morgan State.
How do I get a ballot, man? I need a ballot.
Oh God, this is man, like
I need a ballot.
because this is why I get so mad when people love the coaches poll, because like yes, the media poll was bad this week, but at least like Western was like right on the brink of breaking in. One coach is voting for Morgan State after beating a top 25 team in Richmond and almost losing to Akron, and they have less votes than St. Thomas, who doesn't have scholarships and just lost 28-0 to South Dakota and still has not beat a Division I team with scholarships in 2 seasons.
I think that's like I don't know. When I was in school, they had those little tests where you just kind of bubble in it. You had to have the number 2 pencil, and you just kind of went down. And that's the only way to explain that. Like, I got to get this in at 12 o'clock, and it's 11:55. Let me just go with the names that I know, because you can't make that make sense, man.
Someone's got
teams that haven't even played.
Yeah, teams that haven't played. The coaches are out here just copy and pasting ballots from 2008 out here. Like, who is voting for Yale and Harvard, and they have not even played yet? What are we doing? They don't even start the season until this week.
I need a ballot.
Find out if Fred McNair is voting, man. Just send him.
You know what? I am going to the office tomorrow morning, and I'm like, hey, I'm in charge of this from now on, brother. I got it.
Bro. Get Coach Fred a vote in the coaches poll. If Fred McNair is voting, man, Coach Fred is put in for max vote.
Somebody, Mr. Jones said somebody had Alabama State over Jackson State. Like, is that true?
No, I don't think as Alabama. Oh, that might be the HBCU poll that like Dr. Cavill or HBCU gave, because Alabama State hasn't received a vote in the top 25 yet, or at least from what I've seen. I know definitely not in the media poll.
In any ballot.
Yeah, I mean I think that might be one of the HBCU top 10s, whether it's Knightley, Dr. Cavill, or whoever. But man, that's just tangent. That was supposed to be a storylines, but I was like, I don't want to talk about it. And we covered this game, and it was like irking my soul. I was like, no, I got to get it out. I can't wait, because I can't get it out now, because if Western loses this week, then I'll lose it. I'll lose it if Western loses this week.
Because it was on what they had done.
That's fact.
Not this week. It was on what they had done. You know, same thing.
I'm with you.
Same thing with Morgan. I mean, to me, if I'm an FCS guy, in the way Morgan lost that game, but the way they played versus Richmond, and just looking at the product, I mean, you don't hold that Akron game against them, and you definitely can't put Richmond above them.
No, because I mean, Morgan moved up in mine. Morgan was gonna be my 25th team until Western jumped in my top 25 and it like booted them out like one spot. Like, that's what happened, is Western took Morgan. It happens. I mean, they beat the number 8 team in the country, but if Morgan beats Towson this week and they are not in the top 25, listen, it is going to be a rage on this show on Monday or Sunday, whenever we end up doing this. But guys, in the chat real quick, as we move on to the next game, let me and Coach know, would you guys rather us go live Sunday night super late, 9 p.m., 9:30 to do the recap, or did y'all like the 4:30 p.m. in the afternoon on Monday? Which one would y'all rather do the recap on, late Sunday night or early on Monday, man, right as y'all are getting off work? But Coach, shifting to, we got 3 more games here real quick. Number 19, Southeastern Louisiana, 0-2. Traveling to Eastern Washington, also 0-2. Both of these teams have had brutal schedules. Southeastern Louisiana faced Mississippi State and South Alabama. Eastern Washington had the unfortunate game against North Dakota State, and then they went and played Fresno State, played them really, really close. Coach, how you feeling about this matchup?
Again, it's like you kind of said, to go through the numbers and actually try to find it and watch some of the games. Being that everybody's playing up, so to speak, up. It's kind of tough, but, Southeastern, I think at this point, giving up 500 a game, knowing who they played against, you got to think that number is going to come down. Eastern Washington, right around the same thing. So somebody's got to, reestablish who they are defensively. And I think, Southeastern, offensively, we know who they are, what they want to be. I think that gives them the edge. If their defense can get back to the traction that, that they would be had they not played the money games, I think the defense gives them the edge. But again, how do you break it down? because of the scheduling that they both have had.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting. I think this is the first true test of that 2 quarterback system that, listen, I don't support that, but Selfo has done it really well and consistently at his time at Southeastern. Zachary Clement, all conference guy, transferred in from Northwestern State. They got the returning guy, Eli Sawyer, who split time with Cephas Johnson last year. Interested to see, because even though they run the 2 QB system, someone's always kind of established themselves as the first guy, where it's like, he's our offense, but we'll still have stuff for this other guy who's going to step up and be the guy for this offense. And listen, they got to have new players step up in the wide receiving room. I have not been super impressed with the wide receiving core. They lost a lot of guys, whether it was to graduation or transfers. Darius Lewis has kind of been the guy this season, but I need to see some depth develop. And then defensively, like you said, they got to have more play out of the defensive line. I don't know if they have that guy right now on the defensive line that I could circle and say he's the game changer. And I feel like that's going to be a lot. Yeah, they definitely did. They did. And then with Easter, man, I've been high on him. Vispers at quarterback, 500 yards, 3 touchdowns, almost pulled off the upset for Fresno State last week. I think he's played really well. I love Efton Chisholm at wide receiver, 17 catches this year already in just 2 games. And I want to give credit. Eastern's known for their offense. Their front 7 has been really good. 12 tackles for loss and 4 sacks over the first 2 games against some really good teams. Ben Allen, Adam Cohen have played really well. I'm just interested to see what the identity of Southeastern is going to be. I think I got a good identity of what Eastern's going to be in terms of it's going to go through Visperas, but they have talent at running back. So I think they're going to be a little bit balanced, but I don't know what SLU is going to give me this season.
And I don't know if they know. When we're talking about going back to what you said, the 2 quarterback system is always tough because one guy may be cooking and you've got to make the decision to stay with what you got going. And either we're going to our next game plan or we're going to stay with what's cooking. I always worry about that throwing off the team's rhythm. But he's been doing that, so I guess he feels comfortable with it. But anytime you have a receiver that has 17 catches in 2 games, that tells me what your identity is probably going to end up being, if that makes sense. 17 catches in 2 games, yeah.
The travel hasn't been bad because it's been to Mobile, and then you went to Mississippi State from where Southeastern is over in Hammond. But, man, a cross-country road trip to Cheney, Washington, that's going to be difficult, especially after playing 2 FBS games. I just want to see how definitely flying. You got that have to be. There's no option on that one. You just got to fork out the money. But I'm just interested to see how healthy they are, man. They've played 2 big money games.
Yeah.
Is the team healthy? And I just have so many questions about SLU because it always seems to be that team where early in the season they could slip up, but then it's just like, man, they get rolling through conference play and they're just unbeatable. You know what I mean? Oh, my bad. Shaney is the way you pronounce it. The EWU fans will be mad. Shaney, not Cheney. Shaney. Just keep my comments and my mentions clean this week. But Coach, man, how do you feel? How do you feel like this game's going to shake out, man? Who do you have for the win in this one?
I like the home team just because of what you said. The travel, man, and then you don't know what the wear and tear is for that, leading up. And that's why I think, you have to be really strategic with your scheduling behind your money games. You don't want to go Florida State, Miami, right into your toughest conference game in back-to-back weeks. I think that becomes very important. But like you said, it's cross country. I got to go with the home team just because they're our home. And I'm saying they are going to do that one by at least 14, 2-score margin.
Ooh, so a 14-point upset for Eastern Washington over a top 20 team in the man. That would be
they're at
huge.
They're at home
for this fan base.
What does that field look like?
Oh, it's bright red.
They're at home.
It's bright red. Trust me, you can't miss it. But I'm with you. I'm with you with the upset. I got Eastern Washington pulling off the upset, not by 14. I got it 27-21. I think it's going to be a back and forth game. I think the cross country trip, the 2 money games, kind of is going to wear on Southeastern, and I think Visbrus is going to make enough plays. That secondary lost a lot of transfers. Zy Alexander to LSU, they lost a few guys to graduation. I think he's going to be able to make some plays with Efton Chisholm in that wide receiving core. Man, give me Eastern Washington 27-21 in the close one. But man, Coach, shifting to our final 2 games quickly, man, we went a little bit over time here. Number 10 Incarnate Word, 1-1. Traveling to Abilene Christian, 2-0, a late kickoff, 8 p.m. Eastern time on ESPN Plus. Coach, man, this game has a lot of ramifications for both teams, man. Can Incarnate Word get it rolling under a new head coach, man, and stay in that top 10?
I think they do. I think they bring enough offense to pull this one out. They're almost at almost at 500 yards a game. And then Ab is giving up right around 400 yards a game. I think that's the deciding factor. And I think pride kicks in this one here because everybody has said Incarnate Word was supposed to be this. They're supposed to be this. And I think now that they're getting back to their level, to our level, being head up, not playing up. I think this is where they start to press the gas a little bit. I take them in this matchup here.
You know, the interesting thing is we're in week 3. We do have a common opponent. Abilene Christian faced Northern Colorado week 1, defeated them 31-11, and then Incarnate Word beat them 42-7 last week in their first FCS matchup. So it's weird that we have a common opponent.
But what did we say about that?
Oh, I'm with you, but I just thought it was
I'm
rare.
just messing with you.
Oh yeah, I just thought it was rare, man. Because how did that get scheduled? Like Northern Colorado said, man, we want the Southland. We want all the smoke from the Southland. They got beat both times. But that's a whole another conversation. I will say, yeah, beat down by both. But I will say, Abilene Christian is a team coming in from last year that I was really high on. I thought they showed a lot of improvement. They became like the bottom feeder to a real contender. And when I look at this year, Maverick McIver at quarterback, and that kid's legit. 533 yards, 5 touchdowns. My bad. ACU is UAC now. I'm tripping on that one. But anyway, Maverick McIver, legit. And Blaine Taylor, man, 211 receiving yards in just 2 games. The kid is balling. Their passing attack is legit. And when you look at their secondary, only 168 yards allowed per game and only 1 touchdown allowed through the air, Coach.
1. Put that into perspective. Who have they played? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That alone, I mean, is you're balling back there. But at the end of the day, you have to put that behind you because now were you playing up or is that who you really are?
Yeah. Oh, I'm with you because, you look at PV and it's like, man, they did run for 300 on them, but it's like, well, how can you take, because that's a run first team. And the question mark becomes, can Incarnate Word establish the run like a PV could? Do they have the Caleb Johnsons, the Ahmads in that backfield? I don't know. I mean, listen, Trey Siggers
and those. Want to do though.
Yeah, and that's what I'm with you. Is like if you're Incarnate Word, do you say, okay, we passed the ball really well. We got Zach Calzada. We have all this talented wide receiver, Caleb Chapman, all these guys. We're going to go at your strength, which is your secondary, and we're going to be better than you? Or do you say, let's try to establish the run because this team has really struggled to stop the run this year?
Because that's what we do. We'll sprinkle it in timely, but we are who we are, and that's, what it's going to be. So, to me, I don't think you take that too heavily because, again, when you go back to like the PV deal, who was in the ball game at that time, I think, has a lot to do with it as well. But I kind of like the fact that they are going to be who they are. They're not going to sugarcoat it. And that's their strength. They know. So I got to ride with that,
Man, Zach Calzada looked really good last week. He looked a little bit shaky at times in terms of and just in terms of like his overall game at UTEP. He had a great first half, not so great of a second half, man. And when I look at this team, Steven Parker, legit at edge rusher, man. I mean, already five tackles for loss, 2.5 sacks. Tylen Foster at linebacker was a hell of a pickup in the transfer portal. I want to say it was a JUCO transfer for Incarnate Word. I'm with you though, man. I think the quarterback battle between McIver and Calzado is probably going to be the difference. And like Dustin said, he took the words out of my mouth, man. I mean, they look like they're starting to gel, find their rhythm. Like when they were really inconsistent week 1 against UTEP, I think this is a high scoring game, but give me Incarnate Word 41-37 over Abilene Christian this weekend.
I think high scoring as well. And I think whoever wins the turnover battle definitely wins that, because, that plays a part in it. I don't think the timing rules is going to affect anything in this ball game whatsoever. But I think Incarnate Word has to, at this point, start to establish themselves and start building toward the hype that's surrounded the program up to this point. I'll go with a 35-21 type situation.
Oh, I like it. And shout out to my guy, Mr. Corey Johnson in the chat, man. Caleb's dad. He said, remember, PV outgained Abilene Christian last week. And they lost off of turnovers. That turnover battle came into play.
It's a real thing.
Yeah.
Hey, in some cases, it's a real thing.
That is a fact. And our game of the week, man, as we wrap this up, number 15 Southern Illinois, 2-0, one of the hottest teams in the FCS right now, traveling to Southeast Missouri State, 1-1, or SEMO. Want to shorten that up. 7 p.m. Eastern Time kickoff, ESPN Plus. Coach, this one is actually played for a trophy. Do you want to take a guess at what the rivalry is between Southern Illinois and SEMO?
Southern Illinois and SEMO. Salukis. I don't know. You got me on that one, B.
The War of the Wheel.
So is it a wagon wheel trophy?
No, it is like a boat wheel. Like it was made because early when this matchup was being played, Coach, this is I want to say the 91st meeting between these teams, and the visiting team would the visiting team would have to cross the Mississippi in a boat to play this game. And so they have the wheel, so that's where they got it from. I thought that was interesting that these teams, Coach, these schools are separated by less than 50 miles.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
What's a boat wheel?
Like a steering wheel of a boat.
Oh, an actual steering wheel.
Yeah, it's like a ship steering wheel. It's like the big wheel that's up in the captain's thing. Yeah, it's like the huge thing. It's like the huge steering wheel in a boat. Yeah. Yeah, because they had to go across the river, man, because it's less than 50 miles. I thought that at first I did not know, like up until probably last year or year before, I did not know these schools were like 30 miles apart. These schools are like you could see each other from the campus.
You know how dangerous that is?
Oh yeah. Could you imagine, like, because this rivalry, I mean, it's a rivalry, but man, could you imagine like some of the other rivalries across the FCS if they were like in the same city?
Wow. Less than man. That's crazy.
Like if Alcorn and Jackson could see each other from the dorms.
Man, that's crazy.
Or like Southern and Grambling. I mean, come on, man. It just couldn't happen. But Coach, how you feeling about this one, man? I mean, listen, Southern Illinois coming off a huge FBS win. We talked about them on the recap show. SEMO, top 15 in the country, 5 preseason All-Americans. How you feeling about this matchup?
I really like SEMO. I think the worst thing that happened to Southern Illinois was that win. Because, again, I think it just kind of it takes you a lot during the week to get your kids back. When you pull that off and then everybody's saying how great it was. I'm sure the local radio, local television was saying how great that win was. And it was a great win. But, again, right behind that great win, you have a big game. And it's a situation where a lot of times it takes you a half to get going. And I don't know if they have a half to give SEMO an opportunity to get out front. And then they try to catch them at the end. That's why I say I think SEMO with their offense, I think they can do enough to get out early and be able to hang on late. Not penalizing. You want to win every game, but it just takes a lot to get your team back after being, scoring a big win like that.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, and last year, Paxton DeLaurent had a massive game in this one. I'm talking about a huge game in this one. And I mean, if he has a big game, and then on top of that, you have Geno Hess, man, it could get ugly for you really, really fast. I think that's the key. If you're Southern Illinois, you have to take something away from SEMO. You can't let Paxton DeLaurent get off, and you can't let Geno Hess have a big game either. I mean, because at that point, man, you're giving everything that SEMO wants, and that's a big question mark to me with this one. It's just what's this defense going to be like? They got.
So,
Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. So I was going to say to you, what do you take away? What's the which part of that game do you want to say, hey, we're going to eliminate and we'll play ball from there?
Geno Hess. He leads all active FCS players in rushing yards. I want to say he's over 4,200 career rushing yards and touchdown runs with almost 60.
So you're going to stuff the box and say, beat me throwing.
Yep. Because Geno Hess is too consistent. Geno Hess has shown that if you let him get off, it's a 300-yard game. I mean, I was in person when he became SEMO's all-time leading rusher against Tennessee State. They had nothing for him. Nothing. I mean, it didn't matter what they threw at him. He ran for like 3 or 4 touchdowns that night. They didn't know what to do. Geno Hess is that level of athlete. You look at the passing attack. You do have DeLaurent. I like Ryan Flournoy, who's an All-American wide receiver, but really and truly, their wide receiving core isn't as deep as their running back room, and they don't have a guy like Hess, man. Hess is a game changer. But when you look at Southern Illinois, too, Nick Baker has been playing insane this year. I want to say he's completed 5 or more passes to 4 different wide receivers already.
Somebody says he's a Toyota Corolla. They just keep rolling, right?
Oh, just downhill, and there's nothing you can do. But I do want to give credit to the Salukis defense. They've played Austin P in an FBS school, so it's no money games, no D2 teams. They play 2 respectable teams. Their defense has only allowed 51 rushing yards per game, 1.8 yards per carry.
That's impressive in itself when you're talking about a early on situation, because what does every offense want to do early? It's easier to run the ball than to throw the ball. So when you can cut that off the way they have, and you start to hang your hat on that, I think that becomes really, really impressive. But yeah, that Northwestern win, I think, is still looming because that's huge. That's huge.
Yeah, that's big. I love PJ Jules in the secondary, man. 17 tackles, 3 pass breakups. Was the FCS Defensive Player of the Week for FCS Radio last week. Defensive lineman, man, already Colin Bohannick, 3.5 tackles for loss already. That's going to be a big one. But just defensively, the secondary has more interceptions this year than touchdowns allowed for SEMO, man. So that's a good matchup. So that's what makes this game so interesting to me is you have great matchups on each side of the ball. SEMO's defense, the strengths in the secondary, Southern Illinois, their strengths in the passing attack offensively. Flip it, Geno Hess in the running attack is the strength of SEMO, and the strength of the Salukis defense is the rushing defense. Perfect. Yeah, you love that matchup. And Coach, I do want to make this note before we make our picks. 3 of the last 5 meetings between these programs have been decided by less than 5 points, including last year's win for SEMO, which was 34-31.
I go with SEMO to do it again. Just because, again, timing rules and momentum. I know you would say Southern Illinois has the momentum, but I think their momentum is a little different than what SEMO's got going on. I take SEMO 24-21 type win.
Ooh, I like that. And I'm with you. I'm going with SEMO. I think Southern Illinois is one of the hotter teams in terms of what's going on in FCS football. But I think Geno has shown the ability. He can make plays in big games. And I think DeLaurent is good enough to make the plays when he needs to. If you could just be consistent, don't turn the football over from DeLaurent, this team's hard to beat. I think they escape with a close win, Coach. Give me another close win, 38-35 for the Red Hawks this weekend.
Oh, okay.
I think it's going to be close, man. And I'll say this, that game and what was it, the Western Carolina Eastern game, man, those games could have went either way with me.
Yeah.
I really and truly, I mean, it could have been, it went back and forth, man. But Coach, man, let me get your final thoughts here on this week real quick. I found a picture of the trophy for you, man, so we can visualize it for the people watching it on YouTube. Let me upload this real quick because apparently I thought everyone kind of knew what a boat wheel was, but maybe I just took I grew up on the coast.
Boat wheel. I said boat steering wheel. That might have been something, but I mean,
let's see. We got a lot of SEMOs in the chat. So, Coach, we got this. That's what they play for right there. You get to take that home with you.
What is it called? A steering wheel? It's called something else.
It might. Chat. Well, what is that called? Like, you can make me Google what a boat wheel is called. Like, this is like the Bluebloods.
It's something else.
Let's see. Chat. What is it? Hang on. Let's see. Boat wheel name is it called like a special thing? It is. It is called something different. You're right. It's called a helm. The helm. So you are right on that. Listen, that's an L for me. Listen, I'm just gonna add an L to our pick'em records at the end of the year. So, or a tiller or wheel and any associated equipment for steering a ship or boat. So it is a wheel, but it's technically called a helm. So why do they call it the Battle of the Wheel? They should call it the Battle of the Helm.
Thank you, Dustin. I appreciate that because I'm like, I've never heard of boat wheel. What's a boat wheel?
It's tough. That was a tough loss for me on that one, man. But guys, all the picks from tonight's show and a few other games for me will be available on the website tomorrow morning. The bluebloodcfb.com. We redesigned the website, got a full new look, and there might be some big changes, man. Let's just say this: I can't give all the details, man, but listen, y'all are rocking with me at 10:30 at night. We're in discussions with a major company to move the website over under a bigger umbrella in terms of a media company. Stay tuned for more details on that, man. So big changes could be happening.
I believe we're not done yet.
Yeah. What you got, Coach?
Nah, I'm gonna leave it alone.
Oh man, but guys, listen, man, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Coach, it was a consensus late Sunday night for the chat. They wanted Sunday. They wanted Sunday night. So guys, it'll be in between 9 and 10 o'clock start time, man. It's gonna be real late, man. So stay up on Sunday night.
Yes.
Hang with us, man. We're gonna recap all the games each week. One of the only FCS shows that does 2 hour to an hour and a half shows a week, and on top of that has an active coach in the FCS, man, to come on and chop it up with us, man. No, I don't think there's any other coach in the country, man, that'd be on here till 10:30 at night.
And I promise you, we won't be this long before. It's just like the storylines just write themselves, man. And it's just like we might just have to have if the scores and stuff go the way they may go this weekend, we may just have to do a storyline show. With nothing but that, because
we might need to do that. We might need to do that anyway. I guess we're just game planning the show live. On live here. That's what y'all get when we go late at 10:30. We could do like a Sunday recap show, like a Tuesday storyline show just for like the previous weekend, the next week, and then we'll do like a preview show on Thursday night, man. We'll 3 live streams in a week, man. We might even have to get my guy Timothy on here, get another FCS opinion. But man, listen, we'll work that out, guys, because we got a lot to talk about, man. We're hitting an hour and a half. But Coach, man, anything you want to say to everyone, man? I know it's a big weekend for you guys, and you guys are preparing to take on Nittany State this weekend.
Yes. Again, thanking everybody that supports us. Again, tip the hat to you, brother, for doing this, man, making it real and having a great time with it. Again, never any disrespect to anybody. We just talking football, having fun. Support FCS football, man. 1AA. It's a great brand of football across the board. Stephen F. Austin, great atmosphere. Never would have known it had I not been there live in person. I mean, they actually let college kids, come in the stadium with axe handles. They let them come in the stadium with axe handles. That's real life. Things could have got crazy. But anyway, support it, man, the best you can in any way that you can. Kids are really, really, really talented, and go Braves.
Mr. Johnson put in the chat Alcorn PV next week. I think everyone's looking forward to that one, man. I can't wait. I know you can't wait. It's going to be a big one. But guys, like I said, hit the like button, subscribe, and this replay will be available on YouTube as usual, and audio version can be found on all podcast streaming platforms. Check out the website tomorrow for picks and other content throughout the weekend for myself, Timothy, in terms of writing, and then me and Coach will be back Sunday night. Recap all the week 3 FCS action. But guys, for Coach Fred, for myself, and for the Blue Bloods, man, we are out for right now.